Welcome to ArcGIS Pro, an introduction to mapping and visualization. My name is Charles Preprenant, and I'm a product engineer for ArcGIS Pro, as are my colleagues Zihan and Abri. As product engineers, we help design and test the features that go into ArcGIS Pro. Zihan and I largely focus on symbology, and Abri focuses on layouts. Over the next few minutes, I'll be giving an overview of ArcGIS Pro and its mapping and visualization toolset. After that, Zihan and Abri will demonstrate some of these features and how you would use them to construct an actual map. Afterwards, we'll be happy to answer your questions in the live chat. For those who are new to Pro or considering making the move from Pro to ArcMap, Pro is our primary desktop application for the ArcGIS platform, integrating 2D and 3D approaches to mapping. Like ArcMap, it is primarily used for creating, analyzing, visualizing, and sharing data. Now, for those using ArcGIS Pro specifically for mapping and visualization, the most common types of tasks you would use Pro for are data display, editing and generalizing, symbolizing and labeling, and layouts and sharing. So, let's take a look at some of the tools that Pro offers for completing these tasks. First off, how do we help you view your data? One of the most important parts of GIS is keeping track of where things are, and a big part of that is coordinate systems. These are, as the projection engine team likes to say, how you answer the question, where is my data? We now support 104 projection algorithms, including the Spillhouse and Tobler 1 and 2 projections. The projection engine team has added descriptions of each supported projection and a summary of which situations they are useful for. Some of these map projections have an option parameter that can be used to change the configuration of the projection, such as the Fuller and Cube projections. As I mentioned earlier, Pro has an updated graphics engine. We support transparency for all user-selected colors and have been adding additional improvements with more recent releases, including ambient occlusion, which adds detail to geometry that would otherwise blend together. We also have supported animated water and reflections in 3D scenes since Pro 2.4. We added a color management system in 2.5. You can configure how Pro will keep track of colors in maps, layouts, and styles, and how it will convert between different color profiles using the little CMS engine. Pro comes with the sRGB and US web-coded swap CMYK profiles, but it can make use of any profile you have installed on your machine. For printing, you can define spot colors for use in specialized printing projects, such as topomaps, where you may have, say, a separate dedicated ink for contour lines. These are read-only colors, which Pro will output as a separate channel in a PDF for printing. When you set up a spot color, you can assign an alternative color to represent it while working in Pro. Once you've had a chance to take a look at it, how do we help you take raw data and prepare it for your map? One of the most requested additions to Pro is map graphics, and we have added them in 2.6. Map graphics let you quickly and easily add graphic shapes, text, and pictures to a map without creating a feature class. You can create graphics layers which will appear in the table of contents like any other layer. And when you have a graphics layer selected, a contextual ribbon tab will appear where you can add and edit graphic elements. This allows you to organize your graphics more easily than you could in ArcMap. For example, if you wanted to keep your polygon graphics separate from your point graphics. Definition queries are useful for viewing or working with a subset of a layer as if the subset were a separate version of that layer. Multiple definition queries can be created, stored, saved, and loaded, and you can easily switch between them. The definition query controls which data appears in the map and also which data appears in the layer's attribute table. This allows for easy exploration of your data layers and offers the ability to preview potential attribute edits or to hide information that is cluttering up your map. Pro offers several additional options for displaying subsets of data. You can specify at what scales a layer or symbol is visible or hidden, and you can also specify time spans of data ranges to display. You can, for example, designate a time field in your dataset choose a start and end time, and play through the whole dataset to see how the distribution of events changes over time. Or you can play through ranges of values in your attribute fields in a similar way. For example, I took this tornado data and used Field Calculator to approximate the Julian date of all tornadoes for all years. I could then play through every day of all years on record at once and see how the distribution of tornadoes changed according to season. Of course, it can be hard to see patterns or distributions with this many points. If you find you have too many, feature binning is another way to generalize and explore data. Point data is summarized with equal-sized polygons or bins, and you can define the statistics used to summarize them. Now, by default, the bins automatically resize according to your scale, but you can manually change the bin size or lock it so it doesn't change. Bin data is still controllable by the range and time functionality I just mentioned, and the symbology options for the bins allow you to reset your symbology statistics according to the data ranges or times that you're currently displaying. So, you've explored and generalized your data. Next, we use symbols and labels to make it clear, elegant, and engaging. Symbology in Pro is layer-based. You can define as many layers to your symbology as you want, and then style them independently. You can connect things like size or symbol text to attribute fields in order to, for example, automatically place the correct number in your highway shields based on your attributes. Each of these symbol layers can be included or excluded from masking by nearby text using symbol layer masking. So you can set up your symbology for a cased road and only have the casing masked if you prefer not to have the road disappear entirely when it overlaps your labels. Another frequently requested feature that is now available in 2.6 is chart symbology. You can now symbolize your data using bar, stacked, or pie charts to display qualities for the various fields in your data layers. This option is available for points, lines, and polygons and can be selected from the primary symbology picker. In addition to chart symbology, we have added bivariate renderers for points, lines, and polygons in 2.6. The bivariate render allows you to use two fields to set up a sort of 2D color scheme that you can then apply to your points, lines, and polygons. We have included several preset color schemes in Pro, but you can always create your own. You also have control over the orientation of the color scheme in your legend, as well as whether you want the legend labels to be placed on the side of the color scheme or on its corners. Once you have created an asset that you like, you can assign it to a style. I have color schemes, symbols, and layers and colors listed here, but you can also save customized label styling and placement rules, among other things. Once you have your data symbolized and labeled, it's time to prepare and publish a layout. Layouts are where you add the map surrounds, legends, north arrows, grids and graticules, extent indicators, and so on. Now, that was a lot of things I just threw at you there, but Aubrey will show you how to assemble them into a finished map later. For quick layout assembly, in ArcGIS Pro 2.5, we added a number of preset layouts ready to go in the layout gallery, which you can find when you insert a layout into your project. Some new features we added in 2.6 include the ability to make custom reference grids from polygons, which are useful for things like the township and range system. You can see ticks and labels at the edge of the map are determined by those township and range polygons. A map series allows you to quickly create multiple pages of the same layout based on different map extents. For a spatial map series, these extents are determined by a layer in your map. A new layout page will be created for each feature in the layer. In ArcGIS Pro 2.6, we introduced a new kind of map series based on bookmarks. In a bookmark map series, each bookmark you have saved in your project can be used to generate a new page in the map series, regardless of which map they're in. You can control which bookmarks are included and their order. When you're ready to export your map, you have some options. We support 11 file formats for export, including the new AIX format. AIX files allow you to easily take your map or layout into Adobe Illustrator using the ArcGIS Maps for Adobe Creative Cloud extension. If you intend to publish online, you can share either individual layers or entire maps to your ArcGIS Online account and make them available either publicly or to users within your organization. So, that's a brief overview of what's available to you in ArcGIS Pro, and I'll now hand you over to Zihan and Abri, who will demonstrate some of these features.
Thank you, Charles. So today I'm going to share with you about labeling and symbology functions in ArcGIS Pro. This is the map of Isle of Wight, which is island England. Now the map looks really bad, so let's use Pro to fix it. On the purple layer that you're looking at right now is land use. And usually land use has some specific color codes. Now we can use the tool match layer symbology to style to apply the specific colors to different land use types. So if the values of your attribute can match with a layer, match with the name of the symbol in the style, this tool will just pair them up. So for example, in my layer, I have a field called land use type. And the name of this land use type, which is the value, can match with the name of my symbols in the style. So by running this tool, this color will just apply to my layer. So first, I will just open the tool, match layer symbology to a style, and we have this land use is my input layer, match value, which is the field name, is land use type, and the style is the land use with different color, which is C from the style. So after I run this tool, we could see that all this color, which is C, just got applied on my map directly. And also the symbology of this layer is unique values, which it used different colors to represent different land use type. So after I change the colors of this layer, I would like to see only portion of my data. We could go to layer properties. In definition query, we could do that. Definition query is not a new function in Pro, but since last year, we support the capability to add multiple definition query. So by starting, we could add a new one, which is land use type equals to farm. And after we add the first one, we could keep adding more, or we could also load a query expression file. So after I load this one, is land use type equals to residential. Now I got two definition queries, and I use this check mark to indicating which is the active one. So my active one is land use is farm. So after I click apply, we could see that the land use is equals to farm will only show up in your map. And also in this data tab in the ribbon, we have this quick drop down that you can toggle between them, and you can change to none, which all the data will show up on your map. It's pretty handy and quickly if you have multiple portions of your data on your map and if you want to quickly compare with them. So after I fix the land use, let's take a look at the labels. So I have a road layer on my map. I use different symbology to represent different road type. And after click label, the label got applied, but all of them is in the same consistent black style. What I'm trying to do is I want to use different label types, label style to represent different road types, just like the symbology. So we could go here. We have a function called create label classes from symbology. So now it will show a list of all the label classes that will be created from your symbology. And we can see that they have the exactly same name. So an indication that you know which label class is corresponding to which one of your symbol. And you can always uncheck the one you don't want to create label class. So I will uncheck this two since they're minor rows. And I will uncheck this one since I will remove the default label class and only left label classes that are created from the symbology. So after I click OK, let's go to label class pane. And here we got a full list of all the label classes which is created from your symbology. It's pretty quick since you don't need to do it manually. And now I would like to switch to my label classes since it's the major roads that we're looking at right now with the yellow roads. So first, I would like to change the field road number. I start with a letter followed by 4-digit number. And here in the gallery, I would pick road shield. And we have these controls in the ribbon that I could quickly change the font to different color and size. And here in my label placement gallery, I will just pick shield. And if I want to do further update on the style, I will just go to this symbol header. So I would like to do some update on my co-out. And I would like make all the margin a little bit smaller since there will be less space of the background co-out. So after I fixed my text style, I could use this burger menu. It allows me to save symbol to style. So I need to do is I have my own name, my label, and you can see that this my label will just add to your gallery. And I will switch to another label class, which is the black one we're looking at right now in the center of my map. All I need to do is click on the style, and we can see that this one just got applied directly to another label class. It's pretty handy if you have your own customized label style and you would like to apply that continually in your other layers or other maps in your project. So after I fix my road labels, I would like to take a look at my towns label. So my towns label, most of them looks pretty good, but there's still some parts that I would like to fix. Since in some part of my map, my towns label cannot read clearly because both of my towns label and parts of my roads are black. And we could fix that by using a function in Pro called symbol layer masking that you can pick to mask out which part of your layer. So you don't need to mask out the entire part of roads. So by starting, we could select the layers. It's the one that you want to mask out. So for us, we want to mask out the roads. So after select that in your table of content, you could go to the Appearance tab, and inside this masking, at the bottom, we have Advanced Masking. On the left, you could choose the mask source. For now, we would like to mask our roads by the towns label, and here is the full list of all the symbol layers in your layer. Since we only want to mask out the black part and leave other part on my map, just click on that, only mask out the black black symbol layer, and click OK. And we could see that all the black one has been masked out and only yellow part of road is left on my map. So now I can read my map clearly, and also I have a complete road network. It's pretty handy and useful if you have a tons of labels on your map and you also have network on your map. So now I got my towns label fixed, my road label fixed. Let's take a look of our river. Here I'll zoom this part. I will turn off my roads so we can take a look of the rivers for the Isle of Wight. So I have these rivers and I would like to label them. So after I turn on the labels of the rivers, most of them I was already pretty satisfied since I don't want to change them. The only thing that I might want to change is to move this single label a little bit upper since now it's a little bit go beyond the river segment. So I will use the convert labels to graphics to convert my labels to graphics element into a graphics layer. This will allow me to update the graphics to complete my map. In 2.6 release, we have a new layer type called graphics layer, which is an alternative to annotation feature classes for small extent mapping workflows. These are similar to annotation groups in ArcMap, and existing annotation groups in ArcMap document will be imported into graphics layers in ArcGIS Pro. So we could label the layer first and right-click, and inside this convert labels, we have a new option called convert label to graphics. So this one will bring you to this GP tool. It's quite similar with the convert labels to annotation. Instead, the difference is the output is not an annotation and it's a graphics layer. So after run this tool, you can see that inside your ribbon, we have this new graphics ribbon indicating that you have a graphics layer has been added to your map. We have this different section you can insert or edit or change the arrangement of those elements. So for here, we have this selection tool allows you to select graphics element. And all you need to do is select this one and move a little bit on the top. You can move it around and you can change the size to a larger one, or you can also change the color. And if you want to remove this one, you can just click on delete or press delete button on your keyboard. And since all of them will become this single graphic element, you can just select them and change the color and style. So instead of convert all the labels to your graphics layer, we can start from scratch. So between the Isle of Wight and the mainland England is a solent. We can create a new graphics layer and add that single label. So first, we could go to the map tap your ribbon, add a graphics layer. And we could see that a graphics layer just been added to our table of content. And we could go to the graphics tab again. First, let's change the target layer to make sure that we're working on this new graphics layer. And inside this insert gallery, we can just insert a curved text. So all I need to do is to double click and edit. So now I have this solent, and I could change my custom style, add a new one, the solent. So after I finish typing and apply style, we could see that this label has been added to my map. It's pretty quick. You don't need to add a new feature class or feature layer in your map. And since the insert gallery, we also have this image. So let me insert image of Freshwater Bay. It's in the west part of Isle of Wight. And now we got a new image. And we could add this line to say, okay, we have a new leader line indication where is the Freshwater Bay. And also you can change the style of the line. And also you can use this button since graphics elements support the full capability to change all the style of our symbology. And also you can right click and go to order and send it to back since now it will not overlap with my image. And one of the handy things is all the graphics element will be sitting in this layer. You can just turn on and off, toggle visibility, really handy, just like other layers in ArcGIS Pro. That's enough about England. Let's switch to America. So in ArcGIS Pro 2.5 and 2.6, we have two new symbology types. In ArcGIS Pro 2.5, we have a new symbology called chart symbology. It's a new option set here inside this primary symbology dropdown. So for type, we have 3 types of the chart, and each of them will just add a chart on top of your geographic unit. So for me, I'm mapping a state map with different text. So I'm using pie chart. So after you select your chart type, you could change the color of each part of the chart, and you could select the fields that you would like to visualize. And then inside this size type, now I have fixed size, so all the chart on pie chart is in the same size, and you can select some of selected fields or a single field of your data. So after I change the size, you can notice that we have this composite legend showing up in your table of content. So with this legend, it can help you to interpret with your map. By default, this legend is in this gray color, and we can always change outline and leader line, and we could see that change another color. So this one will look exactly the same after you insert your legend in your layout. So other than appearance, we have this capability to change the leader line style. For now, they're in this gray style, can change to another one. And display option, we could change the orientation. You would like to align, you would like to have your field clockwise or counterclockwise, or change the look of our map. And we have this 3D pie chart option that you can change the angle, and you can change the way that you're taking a look of your 3D chart. And there's a new chart symbology. In ArcGIS Pro 2.6, we have bivariate colors. So by default, bivariate colors using this color-shoulder relationship. And by default, the darker the color means the higher the values, the lighter the color means the smaller the values. Now I have a county map that I use the color-shoulder relationship between household income and household value. So here are my 2 fields, and I could normalize them differently. And I have a method that can change the classification. We have a grade size determining the number of classes. And we have this color scheme option. We have predefined bivariate color scheme that you can choose that can change the topic or the style of your map. And we have 2 individual histograms since we have 2 fields. And with the legend control, we can change the legend. So now by default, we have them by field name that you can change them to anything you would like to change. And this customize will also reflect here on the table of content. So the orientation will change how you want your legend look like. For now, it's this square shape. I can change it to a diamond one. And for the label strategy, we have label on the sides and label corner. For now, we have label on the sides, and I will change label on the corners. So for both of them, I can have customized one. So for example, I have my income and value are high. So after I type some customized content, it will just reflect here in my table of content. Pretty handy, pretty quick. And after you've finished your vibrant colors, you can just share it to ArcGIS Online, and it'll be the relationship renderer. So that's all for my demo for the mapping part and symbology and labeling. So back to you, Aubrey.
Thanks, Zihan. Once you've created a map, you can add it to a layout where you can add additional elements like a legend or scale bars. Here, I have a map of the Valles Caldera National Preserve in New Mexico. I will be using this to create a layout. First, I go to the Insert tab, choose New Layout, and then select the size that I want my layout to be, or create a custom page size. Here, I think I'll use a tabloid size in the landscape orientation. Now I have a page where I can begin to add different layout elements like a map or legend. Before I do that, I'd like to add some guides that I can snap to when I'm adding elements and to divide up my page so that I can figure out where I want to put things. I can right-click and choose to add a guide at a given location, or I can choose to add multiple guides by setting the orientation, the placement, and the margin. Okay, and I've given myself essentially a little bit of a margin for them. Now I can begin to add my elements. The first thing I want to do, of course, is to add my map. Maps are added via map frames, which can point to any map in your project. So when I go to add a map frame, I see all the maps in my project. I just scroll down to the one that I want, and then I can draw it on my layout. I don't love this extent, so I'm going to go over to the Contents pane, which lists all the layout elements. And under the map frame, I can see the map with all of its layers. I'm just going to zoom to the preserve layer to get the extent that I want in my map. The next thing that I'd like to do is add a grid to provide some spatial context. When I select the map frame, the grid option becomes enabled so that I can add a grid to that map frame. I can choose to add a graticule that shows latitude and longitude, a measured grid that shows the projected coordinates, or new in ArcGIS Pro 2.6, a custom grid, which is based off a layer that already exists in the map. In this case, I have a layer in my map for the township and range, so I'm going to use that to create a custom grid. When I create a custom grid, nothing changes on my layout because nothing can draw until I point my grid to the layer that I want it to reference. So I right-click on my custom grid and choose Properties, where I can set the layer. So I'll pick my township and range layer, and I'll wait for a moment, and you can see that now I get some ticks, but no labels, because I haven't told my grid what I want to use as the label. An interesting thing about custom grids is there's no grid lines. The layer itself in the map acts as the grid lines, and then ticks are drawn where the layer intersects with the map boundary. And I can change the symbol of the ticks. For example, in this case, I want to make it match the red township and range layer that I have. I can also set the labels to label each area based on a field in that layer. So I'm going to use the township number, and now each of these spaces will be labeled based on the township number. Another really cool thing that we've added is the ability to do an arcade expression. So I could concatenate multiple fields or add static text. So in this case, I'm going to use a T for township, add the township number, and then the township direction. Hit OK. And now I have a label for each of these that is actually unlike any field that I have because I was able to use an arcade expression. You can further customize your grid by adding additional labels. I could add labels for the range. I can customize things by specific edges. If I go to the selected edges, I can change edge 2 and 4 to be vertically placed, take up a little bit less space on my page and look nice. Now that I've added my grid, I can begin to add other elements to my layout. The next thing that I want to do is add a title. So I'm going to go to the graphics and text option and choose a text option. We have curved text, text in a rectangle that will wrap automatically, and this straight text that I like to use for titles because it will resize. So I'm going to choose this option, add a text box. and then type in the title of my map, which is the Valles Caldera National Preserve. While this is the text I want, it doesn't look very title-ish yet. I'd like to make some edits to this text. So if I double click, I can go into inline text editing mode where I can select portions of the text, go to the text format ribbon, and make changes to just that portion. So I can make this top bold. I can make geologic map look more like a subtitle, maybe make it only 30 points. For additional properties of the text that are not available here in the ribbon, I can go to the text symbol tab in the element pane and get all the properties for the text. So here I can change the horizontal alignment to be center, hit apply. Now I can make this a little bit bigger if I want and position it where I would like on my layout. Next thing I would like to do is add an overview map so that people can get some idea of where the Valles Caldera National Preserve is within the state of New Mexico. So again, I'm going to add a map frame, and this time I'm going to reference a different map, this New Mexico overview map that I created. I'll draw that, and I like the extent, but what I would like to do is add some sort of indicator as to where this map is in this overview map that I have. So I'm going to go to the extent indicators option, and you select the map frame, because that's what this is. This is map frame. And now I can see the extent here. The box is kind of hard to see, so I could adjust the symbol, or I can go and choose the option to collapse to point, because this is such a small area. So if the area of that little box is less than 30 square points, I'm just going to have it be a dot, which I think stands out better. And again, I could just adjust the symbol here. So I'll make it red, maybe a little bit bigger, so it's easy to see. So now I have an idea of where the Valles Caldera is within the state. Click off of here, and I just realized I have a border around this that I don't really like. Map frames draw with a border by default. To turn that off, you select the map frame. Here you can set the properties for the border, a background, or a shadow. I'm just going to turn my border off. The last thing I want to do is add a legend, because geologic maps are hard to understand without one. So I'm going to go and choose the legend and draw it on my map. Okay, there's a lot of items in this legend, and there's actually not that many items in this map. There are 2 maps on this page, each with different layers. So how do I know which map my legend is referencing? To check that, I can go here for legend and any other element like a north arrow or a scale bar that would reference a map, and I can look at the map frame. So here it says that my legend is referencing map frame 1, which happens to be the map frame for the overview map. What I would like it to do is reference map frame and provide me only the layers in the main map that I have. So I've changed that, and now I can see things like the boundary that exists in this map but not in this one. This legend is not very pretty. This is definitely not the kind of legend you want in a mapping and visualization demonstration. So what can I do to make it prettier? One of the first things I want to do is turn off some of these layers. I don't need this hill shade in my legend. So I'm going to go over to the contents pane again, and I can see the legend element here. If I expand it, I can see all the items in the legend where I can turn them off. I can also reorder them. So I can bring these line elements below the geologic elements. And then I can look at making changes to either the entire legend or individual items in the legend. So when I select the whole legend and I look back at the element page, I'm going to see properties that apply to the entire legend. One of the things I'd like to set is some of these lines are really long, and I'd like them to wrap so that I don't have just such long lines of text. So I can go to the Arrangement tab, and I can choose to wrap the descriptions. I can set how wide I want the descriptions to be. I want 1.5 inches here. Then I can also make changes to individual legend items. For instance, you notice that Permian, Quaternary, and Tertiary all say that twice? Well, if when I select these legend items, I can see that they have both the layer name and the headings turned on, which in my map, these happen to be the same. So I'm going to turn off the layer name. I can also make changes to the text for these items or for their headings, label, or description. I would like to make the headings stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to expand this drop down here and just select headings. So I'm looking only at the properties for the headings. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger, make them 16 point and bold so they stand out just a little bit better. And now I'm going to zoom to the whole page because there you have it. I've created a layout. However, this took a little over 10 minutes, and sometimes you just don't have that kind of time. So we have ways to create layouts quickly, particularly if you're using the same layout over and over again by using what are called layout files. So I can save any layout as a layout file, which I could then import into any project that I have. In ArcGIS Pro 2.5, we even added the capability under the Import Layout option. We've provided some default layouts that you can choose from in what I call a layout gallery. You can also set this gallery to reference a folder with your particular layout files or layout templates that you're going to use over and over again. So I think that using these layout files, I can create a layout in 30 seconds. Let's try it. So I'm going to select the Summary A4 Landscape layout. I'm going to select the map frame and point it to the map in my project. In this case, I have a parcel map for Sheboygan County, Wisconsin. I'm going to go to zoom into a bookmark that I have for a specific parcel in the area. I don't really want an overview map. It's not helping me here, so I'm going to delete that and instead add an icon, a picture for Sheboygan County. I can make that bigger, smaller, center it however I like. I'm going to change the map title to say parcel 59281001510. And there you have it, a layout in just a few seconds. You may have noticed that I had multiple bookmarks for multiple parcels. If I needed to create the same layout for each of those parcels, I could create a map series. A map series creates the same layout based on but changes the extent every time. In previous versions of Pro, we had spatial map series that go through a specific feature, but in ArcGIS Pro 2.6, we introduced the concept of bookmark map series, which will create a new layout for every bookmark in a list that you define. So I'm going to choose the bookmark map series, and it automatically adds all the bookmarks. So I can remove the ones I don't like, I can reorder them, and now I'm going to create 4 pages for these 4 different bookmarks. Hit OK, and I see these map series pages. And as I click to the next one, it zooms to the different extent, and things like the scale bars will update, but everything else stays the same. So I can quickly create multiple pages. The problem here is that this title no longer applies, but I can delete that and insert it as dynamic text, which will update for each page. So I can use the page name, which is just the name of the bookmark. Get rid of page name and make it a little bit smaller. And now for each bookmark, it's going to update this page name here for every page. Once you've created a layout, you may want to export it. To export a layout, go up to the Share tab and choose the Export option. In ArcGIS Pro 2.5, we introduced a new export experience with this export pane. We exposed additional capabilities for the export, and including a new file type, this AIX, which is the Adobe Interchange format, which allows you to work with your layout in Illustrator more effectively. And that's the basics of creating layouts.
Thank you, Aubrey, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'd love to hear your feedback on this presentation, so please follow the link below the survey and tell us what you think. We will now be happy to take your questions in the live Q&A segment. Hello, everyone. I'm Charles, and this is Zihan and Aubrey joining me here. We're here to answer any more questions that you may have. To start us off, here is Zihan with a couple of questions.
Oh, hey, here are some questions that show up in the Slido that I promised that we are working on this in the live Q&A. So one of the question from M. Billings, once the labels converted to graphics, is there a way to have the text follow the line automatically without doing it manually? Is there a way to do it manually? Multiple vertices. So I think the best way to answer this question, I will just directly share my screen. So here is the demo data that I used earlier in my presentation, and here is exactly the same thing. So this is the label of the river. So first, if you want to do more tweaking on the alignment of the text, the first thing that you can do is we offer a plenty of different ways that you can change the way of your labels align on your river. So you can change that before you convert your labels to graphics layer. So after I configure my labels correctly, and here is a graphics layer that I covered in advance during the presentation. So this is the graphics layer. So during the presentation, I just select single element, graphics element, and move them. And what you also can do is you select the single graphics element, and inside this graphics tab, we have the edit vertices. That if you click on that, so all the vertices of this text on the curve will show up, and then you can do some small tweaking, use the handlebar, and to change each of the individual vertices to make some small change, and then all the change will be saved in this map graphics. And we have another question about styles from Jeremy Vorl. Can ArcMap styles come over to Pro seamlessly? I have many custom style libraries in ArcMap that would be time consuming to recreate. The short answer is yes. And then inside your thread of this question, I post a link to our style help doc. And if you scroll at the bottom here, we have this legacy part. It's about if you have all this ArcMap style, they're in this style X format. And then you can just import this one to Pro, and all your style from ArcMap will be preserved. And for both of the questions, we can talk more in the map authoring expo later after the presentation. And I will send out the link to the expo later in the Slido. So that's the live Q&A question for me, Charles.
Okay, and we have a question for Aubrey from Kat Borman. Do bookmarks work in 3D local scenes?
Yes, so that's one of the coolest things about Bookmark Map Series is for the first time you can do a 3D map series because you can use bookmarks in the scenes and then import those into a bookmark map series. And if you want to learn more about that, there is a map series presentation later this afternoon where we go over and show you a 3D bookmark map series.
Okay, and looks like another one for you, Aubrey, from Rayleigh Myers. Is there a way to have dynamic text center within an element, such as a legend frame?
So you can have dynamic text and you can center dynamic text within its own element, but we don't have a way to link it to another dynamic element and center within that element as well. So you can group them together, but we can't guarantee you that when the legend changes because new layers get added or you resize it, that the text will also change.
Okay. And from Thomas Moore, will 2.6 allow for outputting map series in file types other than PDF?
We do not have that in the UI. However, you can use ArcPy to create a map series output in whatever format you would like. There is a sample code on the ArcPy help page that shows you how to do it to PNG.
Okay. From David Nusser, how can you go about clipping a layer? Zihan, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, about the clipping layer, we have two ways. So in ArcGIS Pro, we have this GP tool called clipping, and you can just input a input layer and then clip that using another layer, or you can just go to the map properties. So if you have several layers inside the map properties, we have a option called clip layer that you can clip to outline all features or clip to a custom extent. So the GP2 is about modify your data, but for the map properties, the clip layer is about the display part. It will not change your data.
I've got one from Ben Turner. What would be the best training session for someone who is very proficient in ArcMap to switch over to ArcPro? We do actually have I believe it's a tech session called Migrating from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. I don't remember where exactly it is in the schedule, but I can, if you're not able to find that, you can you can find me in the map authoring chat, and I will try to find where that is. Okay, Holly Keikel, or Keikel, sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Can I import layer templates from ArcMap? I think this would be an Aubrey question.
For layer templates, I'm not sure. Layout templates, yes, we can use layout templates in Pro, but I'm not sure about the layer templates. Zihan, do you know?
I'm not super sure about this one. I think we need to double check with that in Expo. So after this one, we can continue our conversation in the Expo for that one.
Okay. And then let's see. Is it possible to format line charts in a more advanced way? This is from Nicola Hassanow. I could not define simple details like maximum and minimum of the x-axis for a time series. Also, the design of the line chart is very basic and cannot be changed. Zihan, could you take this one?
Yeah, based on the description of the question, Nicola, I think you're asking about the chart of Pro instead of the chart symbology we just show in our presentation. So this is specific about ArcGIS Pro chart. So it's basically you make a chart for a specific layer, and that chart will show up inside your table of content. So for this part of question, I suggest you go to the chart expo instead of like our map authoring expo, and I will find you the link to the correct chart expo link, and I will reply that inside your question from Slido.
Okay, from Bruce Huffman, can you still convert map elements to like legends, scale bars, etc., to graphics like you can in ArcMap?
Yes, so you can convert, let's see, legends, scale bars, grids, think that's it, and dynamic text to graphics in Pro. They lose their dynamic properties, but you get exact control over all the elements and where they go. So at the end of the map, if you're still not getting exactly what you want out of your legend, once you've finalized all the items that are going to be in it, converting to graphics can be a great option.
Here's one that I can answer from Ahmed Awad. Is there a way to modify the size of symbols without modifying the text within? For example, if you have a highway shield, the answer is yes. You can go into the symbol layers for that layer and modify the, say, the highway shield independently of that text. If you want to look at details of how to do this, you can definitely come by and talk to us at the map authoring page in the Esri Expo. Let's see. This looks like an Aubrey question from Rose Nyberg. Is it possible to export the sheets in a map series to GeoTIFF?
So you can export the sheets to a TIFF, but we don't let you have a georeference for that. You can export a map to a GeoTIFF, but we don't support that capability for layout yet.
Okay, let's see. From Valerie Strange, I can export shapefiles to add in ArcMap for other users. Would the layout properties and labels be exportable in some way to a file to add to ArcMap? I'm not sure that's the case. The person who would know more about that would probably be Craig Williams. You can probably reach him in the map authoring page in the Esri Expo. Let's see. So a couple of people are commenting that the migrating from ArcMap session is at 1:40 p.m. today. So thank you, everyone who chimed in with the schedule for that. Let's see. A user Hala or Hala, can we not add grid and yet control to show the latitude and longitude? This sounds like it might be an Aubrey question.
Hi, so this is a great question we get all the time. So in ArcGIS Pro, the way grids work, there are multiple types. So if you want to show latitude and longitude on your map, you need to add a graticule. If you want to show measured coordinates for like state plane, is usually a great example, or UTM, then you need to add a measured grid. And then of course you can show custom grids like as we're shown in the demo, but what the coordinates that you get depend on the grid type that you select from the grid drop-down menu.
Okay, we have one from Christina Brewer. I think I can take this one. Do annotation groups migrate from ArcMap? The answer is yes. You can definitely import annotations from ArcMap. And I believe they are converted. Zihan, do you know whether this is true? They're converted to graphics, or do they remain annotations? Or no, this I'm talking about a feature that's new in 2.6 though.
I'm sorry, which question?
When you bring an annotation group into ArcGIS Pro from ArcMap, does it get converted to a graphic, or does it remain an annotation group? I can't remember.
Actually there's some naming problem, because actually if you make a graphics element in ArcMap, and that actually will show up as the name of that part will show up as annotation group in ArcMap. And also when you import that MXD to Pro, that specific layer name, it actually is called annotation group. So there are some like naming confusing about like annotation and annotation group. But I think that annotation layer will still keep that annotation layer type. Like there are two types of layer, like graphics layer and annotation layer. So if you import that in Pro, it still stay the same. But only difference, like if you import the map graphics to Pro, it will still show up, the name will still show up as annotation, but actually it's graphics.
Okay. Let's see. From Gano Perez, where would I look for help on displaying multiple labels at different font scales for 3 separate fields in a shapefile? Zihan, would you like to take this one?
Display multiple different for 3. I think that I will just grab you. I will just like send you the link to the doc for our text team about display multiple labels at a different font scale. I think for that one, you should set up different label classes based on scale. Like the one that I just showed my demo is to create different label classes based on the symbology. But actually you can set a different label classes based on the scale instead of the symbology type. That we can do that when you convert that, you have the option to build that based on scale. I think, yeah, you definitely can do that. I will send you a link from that one on the help doc. Yeah.
Okay. From Janet Boger, Can graphics be exploded back to single elements? I think I can take this one. Graphics, each graphic element, or all graphic elements live in one or more graphics layers that are in that map. You can't ever have a graphics element that's outside of a graphics layer, but you can have as many different graphics layers as you like. So if you wanted to have one graphic element per layer, you could, although that would become difficult to manage because each different graphics layer will appear in the table of contents in your map. So one of the things that these graphics layers do is that they keep your table of contents from getting too cluttered. But you have total control over which elements go in which graphics layers. Let's see. When exporting layer symbology has undergone layer to match GP, will it retain these changes? I'm not familiar with that tool. Is anyone else?
I'm not.
Okay. So this is from Alfred Middleton. You may wish to come and see us at the map authoring page in the Esri Expo, and we can look into this in more detail there. Let's see. From Dana Jones, what is the easiest way to add a neat line?
Hi, this is a great question. So there's a little bit of discrepancy on what people mean when they say neat line. So in ArcMap, when we said neat line and you said add a neat line, it was usually a rectangular box that you could draw anywhere on your layout. To do that in ArcGIS Pro, you just need to add a rectangle. And that's the same sort of functionality as a neat line. There's also an idea of a neat line, and this is what we call a neat line in ArcGIS Pro, and that is the geographic area of your map with regards to a grid. So whenever you add a grid, you can turn on a neat line and it will draw around the geographic area being shown on your map. So there's a neat line that way, but if you want the neat line functionality like you had in ArcMap, it's just a rectangle element in ArcGIS Pro.
Okay, and it's now 8:27 on my clock. Just to let everyone know, the feed for this talk will cut to another talk right at 8:30. So I think we have time for another short question, maybe two. Here's one from Lacey Duncan. How do you or can you quickly use the interstate symbol on a line file? I see the shield for points. I'm pretty sure you can assign a point marker symbol to a polyline and set that that marker symbol to reference the highway shield. Zihan, can you confirm that?
Yeah, I think that. Can you repeat the question?
How do you or can you quickly use the interstate symbol on a line file?
Yeah, I think you already got the correct answer for the user. Yeah, if you choose that from the gallery, in the label that we have a full set of style symbols. That if you scroll down a little bit, you will find that a bunch of collection. Yeah, you got that, Charles.
Okay. Let's see. From David Bauer, and I apologize if this gets cut off before we can finish answering. If we are having problems with migrating, what should we do to get help? Call tech support, or is there anyone on help that we can get? My recommendation, although I'm not particularly knowledgeable, is to contact tech support. If you come to the map authoring page in the Esri Expo, a good person to talk to about that would be Greg Lehner. Does anyone else have any feedback on that?
There are a lot of online resources about migrating to Pro. There's a whole help topic in our help documentation for ArcGIS Pro about that. So I also recommend using our online resources.
Okay, and now it's 8:30. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you everyone for joining us.